Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome, guys. My name is Liaquat Zaman. Hope you guys are having a wonderful time. Hajj, you can see on the screen in front of you guys. Before we actually go into the crash course of Hajj, which many of you guys have actually been asking me, can you please do a Hajj crash course? Can you explain the rules of Ihram and all that? So what I decided to do, because in the book of Mukhtasar al-Quduri, we've actually reached the chapter of Hajj. So I thought to myself, you know what? There's going to be lots of people out there who are not going to know what Hajj is about, and they're going to study Hajj and they're going to get confused. So, Liaquat, why don't you be a good person and why don't you just summarize it for them? So I thought, okay, I'll summarize that for you guys. And this is the summary. So inshallah, in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you guys how Hajj works, how Umrah works, the three different types of Hajj. And I'll talk a little bit about the rules of Ihram, but not too much. That's something I'll leave for maybe another video. And Quduri, yeah, it's going to be in there anyway, right? So without any delay, let's start. Before actually, no, wait, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell button, and leave a comment as well, right? If you love my channel and if you love the work that I do, then that's what you gotta do, right? So let's crack on there. So, right. First of all, this is England, where I live. Make it a bit better. So it's Wales, there's Scotland, Ireland, here's France, here's Spain, here's messed up Mediterranean, here's Saudi Arabia. Alright, so you got the idea. So when you're going for Hajj, let's say I'm going for Hajj from my city of Birmingham. Right, so I'm going to travel all the way from here, all the way to Saudi Arabia, and I'll go to Mecca. Well, the flight does not land in Mecca. You know, it lands in Jeddah. And then I'll go for my Hajj ritual. So here, what I'm going to be doing first of all is I'm going to be showing you guys how Umrah is done. Right, so that's like the minor Hajj. So how is Umrah done? What do you have to do when you're doing Umrah? So basically, this is the Kaaba. Imagine this is the Kaaba. You've probably seen this, definitely. And this is a small little wall image of that. And then you have the black stone. So this is called the Kaaba. This unique structure is called the Hatim. The Hatim. And then you have the black stone over there, Hajar Aswad. Well, it's called the black stone. And so when you go over there, basically, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing these fixed acts of worship. Right? There's literally three things that you do. So I'll explain Umrah to you. So you go to Makkah, you go inside the Masjid al-Haram, you walk there, you go over this right here, start there, and you go around anti-clockwise once, and then you go around it twice, and 3 times, 4 times, 7 times you go around it. After you've gone around it 7 times, then what you do is you go and just right next to the Haram complex, right, there's these 2 little hills known as Safa and Marwa. This is Safa, this is Marwa. You go there and you basically have to go from one side to the other 7 times. 1, 2, like that. Right, so 1, 2, you put 2 there, 2, and then you got 3, and then 4, and then 5, 6, 7. Right, so basically 7 times. So back and forth. Right, so back and forth is 2, like that. So you start from Safa and you're going to end up in Marwa. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 all the way to there. And you end up there. Then what you do is you come down and you pray 2 rakats. Right, you just pray 2 rakats of Nafal prayer. And then you're going to go and you're going to cut your hair. So you can shave your head if you're a man, or cut it. And for a woman, you cut your hair. Right, so imagine this is a guy with some funky hair. And he's in his Umrah. And now let's take him to the barbers. But mashallah, barber's going to give him a nice haircut. Now he can have a haircut or he can have a shave. Right, so he's going to have a shave. Oh, his head's changed a bit as well. And he's a smiley face. Alright, so done. Okay, Umrah's done. That's it now. You can chill out in Makkah. You can go to Medina if you like. Or you can just go back home. So, this is basically what Umrah is. It's very, very straightforward. It's nothing difficult. Now, one thing you have to remember is, before you can't just come to Makkah. You've got to do something called Ihram. Ihram is a state you have to go into. Like you do wudu for salat. Imagine that. So you got to go in this state. So imagine, for example, this area here is the sanctified area. This area that was drawn on the screen. It's roughly similar to the area which you're not allowed to step over. If you're going to come to Mecca for Umrah, you can't step over it without being in the state of Ihram. Right, this is known as the Miqat, and then in the middle you have the Haram. Haram is basically like the vicinity, and then inside that vicinity you have the Masjid al-Haram. Right, so Haram is like a big area. I don't know, I think it's about 3-mile radius, something like that. So this is Miqat, and then you got, right, let me just make this a bit smaller. Right, this is what you call the Hill, they call it the Hill. And then inside that, this blue area, you call that the Haram. Now, I should have shown you on Google Maps, but I'm sure you guys will be able to figure it out. Inshallah, maybe in the Quduri ones, I'll show you there. That's the Haram area, that's the Miqat. So anyone who wants to come from outside to do Umrah or Hajj must come, before they step over, be in the state of Ihram. Right, this is the Miqat. Now there's 5 actually points of Miqat. You can enter from anywhere you like. There's not like 5 points you have to enter from, but the point is that these 5 points have been mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ, and they are, so if you're coming from Medina, you come from a place called Dhul Hulayfa. Let me just do this in yellow so they're highlighted. Dhul Hulayfa. If you're going to come from Iraq, you come from a place called That Irq. If you're going to come from the east side of Saudi Arabia, Najd, you're going to come from Qarn. And if you're going to come from Yemen, Oman, these areas, you're going to come from the side which is known as Yalamlam. Nice name. Yalamlam. And if you're going to come from Egypt and Syria and these areas, then you're going to come from Juhfa. Right? So these are the names of the 5 sort of like points, but you don't have to come through 5 points. As long as you come over, that's the main thing. So, okay, so like we said, these 5 points, you have to come in the state of Ihram. So what is the state of Ihram then? That's what we want to know. Right, so the state of Ihram basically for a man and for a woman is slightly different. So for instance, let me just draw this for you guys. Right, it must be in the state of Ihram. So a man, his Ihram is basically, he must expose his head and his feet. Right, he can't cover them up. And he has to wear 2 sheets. That's it. No underwear, no nothing, no t-shirts, no vests. Just 2 sheets he wraps around himself. And I'll show you an image of that in a bit. And he has to expose, his head has to be exposed, all of his head. And his feet, the lace part of his feet. Right, so the lace part of his feet. And the woman, she can wear any clothes she likes. Anything she likes. She can wear socks and gloves and everything. But her face must be covered. Her face must be uncovered. Uncovered. Okay, so her face is uncovered. Face, and for the man it's in the head and the lace of the feet. Yeah, the lace of the feet. Okay, now, so you see over here, these are some Google images I've just found. And you've got, like, for instance, this guy, his head is exposed, her face is exposed. Now, his arm's exposed, but that's not necessary. You can cover the arm. He's just maybe got some big, strong muscles. And then the feet over there, exposed. Okay, let me see if we can find another nice one. Okay, over here, this is a good one. So you see over here, the feet, that part of the foot has to be exposed, the lace part. The rest can be covered. So you can wear these kind of slippers. Yeah, those kind of slippers where, the lace part is exposed. It's not covered. Those are kind of fine to wear. Alright, so that's basically your Umrah done. Now, by the way, when you start your Ihram, you have to say this. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك لا شريك لك. You have to say this if you want to go into Ihram. So you have to first of all be prepared for Ihram, and then you got to say this. And it's preferred to have a bath before you actually, start your Ihram. Okay, so that dua, I'll mention it in the Quduri, but that's something which you're going to have to say if you want to go into Ihram. Anyway, this is Umrah. So what is Umrah? So number 1 is Ihram. And then number 2 is you have to do Tawaf when you get to Makkah. Number 3 is you have to do Sa'i, right? And number 4 is you have to do 2 rakats. And then number 5 is your hair. That's it. And I did say earlier on 3, didn't I? But okay, let's say 5. So this is how the Umrah is done. So Umrah is quite straightforward. You can do it any time in the year you like. Any time. 365 days of the year. Any time. You can do in one day. You can do multiple Umrahs. That's totally fine as well. And if you've ever been to Umrah, put in the comments. Tell me what it was like. Did you enjoy it? What was the best part that you had? What was the most difficult part? And that's it. Hajj, right? Hajj is actually the major pilgrimage. This is where you need to know a bit of technicality. So there's actually 3 types of Hajj I'm going to be talking about. First of all, I'll talk about the basic Hajj, the basic package, let's say. Imagine these are months of the year, the lunar months, right? Ramadan's there. And then after Ramadan, you have Shawwal. And then after Shawwal, you have Dhul Qa'dah or Dhul Qa'dah. And then you have Dhul Hijjah. And then you have Muharram, which is the New Year, like our January, Muharram. Now, Hajj can only be done in these 2 months and 13 days. Well, I mean, it can only be done once, but you can only kind of do the rituals and get into Ihram in this time. If you were to get into Ihram in Ramadan, you can't do Hajj with that Ihram, right? So you gotta basically, if you wanna kind of like, it's like basically, like Zuhur Salat time, right? You can't like pray your Zuhur before the Salat starts like that. So this is the time for the Hajj, from there all the way up to there. You can only like start the rituals in that pink period, right? And in fact, the Hajj is only 5 days, right? The Hajj is only 5 days, and that is in the Dhul Hijjah. So let me show you what I mean that it's only 5 days, right? Because a lot of people get a bit confused here. So, for instance, like let me write this down for you guys. So the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, the 11th of Dhul Hijjah, the 12th of Dhul Hijjah. These are the days that you need to know, basically, right? You need to learn about these dates. There is the 13th, but the 13th is optional, like I'm going to explain to you guys. Yeah. So there's the 13th, so it's really 5 days. 13th is the like optional one that you can do. Now, by the way, the 10th of Dhul Hijjah is Eid, okay? It's Eid al-Adha. We're chilling out, having our Eid, right? But in Hajj, the 10th is like the main day. Okay, so how does this work then? So let me just move this out of the way, make some space for you guys so you guys can follow what I'm saying and what I'm doing. And then we'll start this. Okay, that's better. Nice, loads of room. Right, so what I said is I'm going to explain to you guys the basic Hajj, which is called Hajj Ifrad. Ifrad, right, the single Hajj. So if I copy and paste this, it's going to make it much easier for me. So then I can just manipulate it as I like, and it saves a bit of time as well. So you've learned how Umrah is done. You simply just go to Makkah, do the tawafs, do the sa'i between Safa and Marwa, pray and shave your head, cut your hair. Yeah. How does it work in Hajj then? In Hajj, it's different. It's actually days, specific days you can only do Hajj. If you miss these days, you cannot do Hajj throughout the year. So, okay, what happens? You done your ihram. You come to Jeddah. You've flown in. You come to Makkah, yeah? So then you come to the Masjid al-Haram. When you come to the Masjid al-Haram, the first thing on the 8th, right? On the 8th, you do your ihram if you haven't already done it. Right? So normally we would have done our ihram before coming to the miqat. But for local people who live in Makkah, they will have to do their ihram on the 8th. So you do your ihram. And on the 8th then, you start to do your tawaf. Right? So do your tawaf. Go around the Kaaba. Start from where? The black stone. And then you go around 7 times and you do sa'i. So, right? So remember this, okay? You do sa'i with it. I'm going to come back to this later on. Alright, so you've done this. You've gone around the Kaaba 7 times. Then what you have to do is you have to go. So this is going to be done after Maghrib time. You have to go to another location. You got to leave the masjid and you got to get into your coach or car or walk even to a place called Mina, which is only like about, in a drive, it's only about 15 minutes drive away. And if you walk it, it's about an hour's walk, maybe 50 minutes walk. So you're going to go to this place called Mina where there's lots of tents, right? Lots and lots of tents. You're going to go there and you're basically going to stay there. That's your place you're going to stay for the next 5 days or 4 days. You're going to stay there, right? So you're going to stay there. You're going to pray your Isha there. You're going to sleep there. And then what's going to happen? So this is, remember, after Maghrib on the 8th, right? Maghrib. You're going to stay there, Fajr there, all that. Then what's going to happen is on the 9th, you're going to set off, right? You're going to go on the 9th to another place which is nearby called Arafat. Arafat is that famous image you see of people gathering and the Mount Arafah. Right, so these are known as the plains of Arafah. So you're going to go there. Everyone's going to be standing there. You literally set off after Fajr. Some of us, I remember when we went, we actually walked it. We just walked it from Fajr. After Fajr, it was about 4 hours to get there, 3 hours to get there. It was tiring. But alhamdulillah, eventually we got there. We got lost as well, mashallah. And everyone gathers there. And there's like this little kind of mountain, or they call it a mountain, little hill, called the Jabal Arafah, the mountain of Arafah, or the Jabal Rahmah. And that's where people gather and they pray to Allah. So basically what you do there is Zuhr and Asr, you combine them together. You pray them together in the Zuhr time. It's like something you don't normally do. Zuhr and Asr are prayed in the Zuhr time. And then what happens is, after that, you wait there, you make du'as, you read Quran, you do dhikr. Remember, all of this is on the 9th. Yeah. You're gonna, then what's gonna happen is you're gonna wait till the sunset, Maghrib time. Yeah. You're going to go to another place. You're going to set off straight after Maghrib to Muzdalifah. You're not going to pray your Maghrib, right? And in Muzdalifah is another place where everyone gathers and stays there, sleeps there. And this is basically you combine your Maghrib and Isha in the Isha time. Right? Just like you combine the Zuhr and the Asr in the Zuhr time, you're going to combine the Maghrib and the Isha together. Now remember, this is where? In Muzdalifah. Okay? And remember I told you you're going to sleep in Mina. But not all the days, I said 4 days. Well, this is the one day you're going to stay in Muzdalifah, sleep. Actually, I should have called this sunset because it gets confusing. Let's call it sunset. So after sunset, you set off and you don't pray your Maghrib yet. Pray your Maghrib after its time over there. Okay. So then what happened? This is now the 10th has started now, night time. So the 10th has started. So you stay there, you wait till Fajr. Right, Fajr time, pray your Fajr there. And then after Fajr, you set off, you go back to Mina. You go back to Mina, which is on the route to the place you want to go now. Remember, this is the 10th now. This is the Eid day, right? For us, it's Eid day. And then, so if I just color all these in, so this is all the 9th. And then this sunset one, all of that is the 10th. Let me choose another color for this. I don't know, you guys enjoy these colors? Yeah, and do that nice, like kind of peachy color. Okay, so there you got the 10th. Remember, 10th still hasn't finished yet. So Fajr time, where are you going? You're going to Mina. Right, so you're going to Mina. Then what you do is, you go to the place to stone. This is like you've probably seen people do this. They have 7 stones and they stone these walls. So you're going to stone the biggest wall. Right, you're going to go there, 1, 2, 3, number 3. You're going to stone the biggest wall. Yeah, so you go there, you stone the wall. Yeah, 7 stones, Jamarat al-Aqaba. Right, and where do you get the stones from? Now you have to get the stones from when you're in Muzdalifah. You pick them up from there. 49 stones. Okay, you're going to need 49 stones, and we'll work out how they come to 49. So you get 49 stones, maybe a bit more, just in case you lose some. And 7 stones you're going to stone on the 10th. On the 10th in the morning after Fajr, you're going to go and throw 7 stones at the biggest one. Okay, this is the first major ritual of Hajj on the 10th, right? So there's 3 major rituals for the Haji on the 10th, right? What are they? So number 1 is for stoning. That's the first thing you do. Once you've done that, you go and you shave your head. And the third thing you do is tawaf. Now, if you're doing a Hajj of single Hajj, right, then you don't have to slaughter an animal. It's optional to slaughter an animal. Okay, but the other Hajjs, you will have to slaughter an animal, like I'll show you a bit later. So 3 things you must do on the 10th. What are they? Stone, shave, tawaf. Now remember, shave means cut as well. So if you don't want to shave your hair, and if you're a woman, then you cut your hair. Alright, so after you've stoned, you shave and then you do tawaf. Remember, tawaf you have to do it in the Masjid al-Haram. Right, so you're going to have to go into the Masjid al-Haram. You're going to Makkah and you got to do it over there. Alright, so shaving can literally be done anywhere. Okay, so then what happens is you go... Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how... This is another guy with the funky hair. Alright, get rid of your hair. I'm gone. Done. He's done the shaving. Right, so then what happens is you go and do the tawaf. So the tawaf is done by going around the Kaaba 7 times. Now remember the 8th where I said to you tawaf and sa'i 7 times. Well, if you did the sa'i on the 8th, you don't have to do it now. You just have to do 7 circuits around the Kaaba. But if you didn't do the sa'i over there, you will have to do it over here. Does that make sense? Yeah, so that's what I said over there. Remember? If you did the 7 sa'i, then you don't have to do it over here. Alright, so then you pray your 2 rakats, job's done. Right, finished. You're out of your ihram. This is called tawaf ziyarah, by the way. This is actually the most important tawaf that you'll ever have to do. There's no higher tawaf than this. So remember, the first tawaf, the 8th tawaf, is the tawaf for arrival. Tawaf of arrival, you call it. And then this tawaf is called the tawaf ziyarah. Okay, and then what happens is, once all of this is done, now there's a third tawaf that you do, which you do once you're going to leave Makkah. Once you're going to leave Makkah, you call it the tawaf of wada'. Yeah, where you're going to leave, you're going to go. Right, so that tawaf is considered to be necessary for people to do. But this is the most important one, the one on the 10th. So now what happens is you got to go back. Okay, so remember, so this is done, all this is all on the, which day? This is all on the 10th. After you've finished all of this, after Isha, you must get yourself to Mina. You can stay in Makkah all day if you like. But after Isha, you must get yourself to Mina. Go back to Mina. You got to stay the night in Mina. So Isha, go back to Mina. Right now it's going to be, obviously 11th is going to have started because the night starts before the day. So you're going to stay there on the 9th and the 11th, right, in the 10th. Right, let me just call this in. So you stay there, 11th. And then what you're going to do the next morning, you do nothing in the morning, okay? You just stay there all morning. Then you wait till Zawal. And then once Zawal happens, Zohar time starts, you go all the way to these stoning. And you have to stone each one 7 times. So number 1, number 2, number 3, 7 times each. Remember, you've already stoned 7. So today you're going to do 7, 7, 7. So 21 plus the 7 you did yesterday, which is now 28 altogether. So how many stones do you have to take with you? Remember I said 49. Okay, so keep that number in your mind. Once you've stoned, that's all you have to do on the 11th. Nothing else. Just stone the 3 walls and then come back. Yeah, stay in Mina again. Go back. Stay in Mina. Remember, it has to be done after Zawal on this day. On the 10th, you do it after Fajr. Here, you do it after Zawal. Alright, so now you've done that. Stayed there. It's the 11th, right? Come back there, had a night there again. Now on the 12th, right? On the 12th now, again, you come back, right? After Zawal. Right? Go all the way there. Do the same 7, 7, 7. So how many have you done so far? So 21 on the 12th, 21 on the 11th, which is 42. And then you do 7, right, which is 49. Right, so you've done all of them. Now, as soon as you've done this, you can't, if you stay there until after Maghrib, you must stay on the 13th. So if you want to get back, you're going to have to leave. As soon as you get back, get all your stuff and just set off to your hotels or whatever. But if you stay in Mina until Maghrib time, you're going to have to stay on the 13th. You will have to stay on the 13th. Okay. Alright, so, and that's it. So if you do stay on the 13th, then you're going to have to collect some more stones, 21 more stones, and then you'll have to do the stoning again after Zawal, and then you set off and go. And that's basically your Hajj. Now the last thing you have to do is the tawaf. So you do a last tawaf before you set off, before you go. You can do that anytime you like, but you got to do it obviously before you set off to go home or Medina or whatever. And that's called the tawaf of departure. So there's 3 tawafs that you do. One on the 8th, which is the tawaf of arrival. One on the 10th, tawaf of visiting, ziyarah. And one on the, when you are about to depart, called the tawaf of ziyarah. Now, if there is a woman who is menstruating, she can do all the actions of Hajj, right? All the actions of Hajj, but all she's going to have an issue with is the 2 tawafs, right? The 8th tawaf, she doesn't have to do. That's something that she won't have to do, because that's considered to be sunnah for everyone. The 10th tawaf she has to do. The tawaf of departure, it drops from her. So literally on the 10th, what does she do? So if she can wait there until her bleeding stops, she can do the tawaf later on, right? That's fine. And if she can't, then she does tawaf in her state, and then she'll have to give a sacrificial animal to make up for it. Right, that's it basically. That is your basic. So women can do everything else that men do in this. It's the only issue is on the 10th, that going into the Masjid al-Haram and doing the tawaf, she can't do that. All right. Okay, now this is called tawaf, the single tawaf, tawaf ifrad. And I don't want to make this video too long because I know too long videos make it difficult to watch. So I'm going to try to get through this as easily and swiftly as possible. So single hajj, call it ifrad. Now we're going to look at the compound hajj, combined hajj, where you combine umrah and hajj. So a lot of people, I did it myself, I did umrah and hajj together. But there's two ways you can do this. One of the ways you can do this is you do it with one ihram. So you do both rituals, both pilgrimages in this time period, Shawwal, Zulqa'dah, Zulhijjah. You gotta do it then, okay? You gotta combine the both then. You can't do like umrah in Ramadan and then hajj then, no. It won't be counted as a combined hajj. Right? So umrah has to be done in that period before the hajj. So what happens? So either you do it with one ihram, two ihrams, or whether you do it with one ihram. The two ihram one is called tamattu and the one ihram one is called qiran. Okay, I'll write that in a bit. So what do we mean by two ihrams? So what we basically mean is, let's say this is me, start off from Birmingham, I travel with the intention of umrah, go to Makkah, do the normal umrah activities, 7 times around the Kaaba, do the sa'i, pray the 2 rakats and cut my hair. Right, umrah's done. And I take off my ihram, put my normal clothes on, and just stay in Makkah for as many days or weeks I want to be there for, until the 8th comes. So once the 8th comes, then I have to start my Hajj ihram. So out of ihram for the Umrah ihram, and back into the ihram for the Hajj ihram by the 8th. Right, and then I can just stay in Makkah, chill out over there. Right, so kind of straightforward. I think, it's not really kind of too technical. Okay, so that's that. Right, so this part, remember I said to you, if you're doing a single hajj, you don't have to slaughter an animal on the 10th. But if you're doing a combined umrah hajj, you have to slaughter and must slaughter an animal. So literally you have 4 actions you have to do. And you have to do it after the stoning. So stoning first, then slaughter an animal, then shave, then tawaf. You can't, according to majority of Hanafis, you can't do it in any order you like. You have to do it in this specific order. Stone, slaughter, shave, and then tawaf. Right, so I put that over there. And this is the same goes for the one ihram, combo. So that's that. All right. So what about the next one then, the one ihram one? So remember, you got the 2 ihram one. You go from there, you do your umrah, yeah, everything. Same as I just explained. But you don't cut your hair, you don't shave your hair. You don't get out of ihram. You stay in ihram for as many days as you're in Makkah. Some people are in Makkah for a week. Some people are in Makkah for 2 weeks, some people even a month. However long you're there, you must stay in the rules of ihram. Right, and if you, like we're going to mention a bit later, if you do break any of the rules of ihram, you have to pay the penalty. So stay in ihram, really important for this type. Yeah, you stay in ihram over here. And then what happens is, you do everything else. You got to slaughter as well. Right, so let's say, for example, like you arrive in Makkah on the 1st. You do your umrah on the 1st, right, of the Hijjah. And then, obviously, you stay there until the 8th. That means day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you are going to stay in ihram. Literally stay in ihram. Right, so some people don't like this option because they're scared that they might break the rules of ihram because of staying there for so many days. And then, you can't like unnecessarily wash or use perfume or all these kind of things that we're going to mention. And as for the other one, the other combined, the 2 ihram one, obviously, if you arrive on the 1st, then you do your umrah, you get out of your ihram, and then you're free to do whatever you want. You're not restricted, bound by the rules of ihram, right? Because you're kind of less like a normal in these 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, no ihram. So a lot of people, I actually did this one, right? This is actually called tamattu. Yeah, this one is called tamattu. And the one ihram one is called qiran. Qiran. Right? Tamattu means to enjoy, because like you enjoy this chill out period. And qiran means like to combine the two, so it's like one. Alright, so this is single hajj. This is umrah and hajj together. The two ihram one is called tamattu. Sound like tomato. Tamattu. And the other one's called qiran, not Quran. Qiran. And there you have it. That's as I've tried to make it as easy as possible for you guys to understand how you do this. Okay, Now, let me think to myself, shall I explain to you guys about the rules of ihram? Well, I won't go into detail. I'll just explain to you roughly what kind of things you need to know. Right? But the main thing over here is you will have to do a slaughtering for any combination of Hajj and Umrah. You'll have to do a slaughtering on the 10th. Now, if you can't do a slaughtering, what do you do then? So what you have to do is you have to fast 3 days in the period of Hajj and then 7 days when you go back home. Yeah, that's the kind of rule. So if you can't afford to slaughter an animal, right, you decide to do a combination. So the other option is that you fast 3 days in Hajj. So the days that you're there in Hajj, you fast 3 days. And then when you go back home, 7 days, and that's altogether 10 days. Okay, so let's look at ihram. What kind of ihram rules can't you break? So ihram has some rules. So what you can't do, number one, you can't hunt. And I know you guys love hunting, yeah, but just chill out, guys. You can't hunt, right? So in the olden days, obviously, hunting was common. People used to travel from far and wide and they see an animal and hunt it. You're not allowed to hunt any animal at all. And if you hunt an animal, that animal is haram to eat. So you can't hunt any animal. Number two is you can't wear stitched clothes. This is for men only. Only for men, right? Women can wear as many stitched clothes they like. So men cannot wear stitched clothes at all. And they have to wear 2 sheets. 2 plain sheets. Number three is you can't have sexual intercourse or anything which is like, will sort of like lead to sexual intercourse. So no sexual intercourse at all or anything that will lead to it. Number four is you can't put on any perfume. So you can't adorn yourself in any way, which this includes cutting all nails. So removal of all nails and also removal of hair, cutting any hair. So cutting any nails, any hair, you'll have to pay a penalty. That's it basically. So those are the main 4 things you have to remember when you're in ihram. Right? And in Quduri, inshallah, I'll be in detail explaining. So hunting, was stitched for men, sexual intercourse, perfuming, removing any sort of like filth or grime or nails and hair. Right, so what kind of penalties do you kind of expect? What kind of penalties are going to happen? So basically, the consequences are, it depends on the situation. Either it can just be something like giving a bit of charity. Like maybe, for instance, you take a few hairs out your head. It will lead to charity. You'll have to give charity. Otherwise, it can actually be slaughtering an animal. So you might have to slaughter a goat. And if it's really serious, which is very rare, you might have to slaughter like a camel, right? So you're going to pay a bit more to get that slaughtered. And sometimes, like sexual intercourse, for example, is the only one that will really kind of nullify your Hajj if you were to do it before the 9th. Right, so in the state of ihram, before the 9th, on the 8th, if you did it, your Hajj is over, it's void. Right, that's the only kind of one that I'd say which would be really detrimental to your Hajj. Otherwise, nothing else is going to be detrimental to your Hajj. Now the thing is, Arafah on the 9th, you must go to Arafah. That's the Prophet ﷺ said that is the main cornerstone of Hajj. You got to stay there. Even if you just walk over it and put your feet on this for a few seconds, you have to go there, basically. Yeah, and that's it really. So that is your Hajj, like we said. You get into the state of ihram, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika lak, labbaik innal hamda wa ni'mata lak, la sharika lak. And then you travel, you do all the activities that you have to do, the rituals that you have to do. And then once you finish, you get out of ihram and then you go back home. Right? You have to get out of ihram, remember that. If you don't get out of ihram, you will stay in ihram even if you go home. And then you're going to, every time you incur a penalty, you'll have to give a penalty, and you don't want that to happen. Okay, I can't think of anything else. Nothing else comes to my mind about this. And that's it basically. So that's your Hajj. I hope you guys have benefit from this. Hope it's easy to understand. These two, charity and the slaughtering animal ones. This applies to scenarios of sexual intercourse, perfuming, and to stitched clothing. Well, as for hunting, there's separate rules for the penalties of hunting. Right, what you have to give for that. And that's it really. So Jazakumullah khair. I hope you guys benefit from this and enjoyed the presentation. Crash course, just a quick overview of how Hajj is done. Now I haven't gone into a lot of detail, obviously, because I'm going to leave it for Kuduri inshallah and start that next week. But you're going to get an overview of how the Hajj is going to work, so that when we do cover the text, you'll understand what's happening. Anyway, Jazakumullah khair. Take care, inshallah. And thank you very much to all my patrons for all the support you guys show. May Allah bless all of you guys, give you wonderful, happy lives, and bless your wealth and your families, protect you from any harm. And if any of you guys want to become patrons as well, support my channel, you like the work that I do, then please check out the description below. In the description, there's basically a link where you can make donations, one-off donations through PayPal, or you can become a monthly supporter. Any amount you can give, £1 a month, anything which you feel as though you want to give, you can give, inshallah. Alright, Jazakumullah khair, and I will see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.